So does gear matter? You bet your ass it does. Just not as much as they want you to think. Okay, we're going to talk about today this Canon Rebel T7 and why it's, in my opinion, a great starter camera, great for beginners, great to learn on. And we'll also talk about why I bought a 6D Mark II in 2021 as opposed to buying one of the new mirrorless cameras. Okay, so your three top camera companies are Canon, Sony, and Nikon. I shoot Canon just because that's the brand that I picked. Saying one's better than the other is just a matter of personal preference. It's kind of like choosing between a Ford, Chevy, and a Toyota. You know, they're all going to do a great job. They're all going to make great images. It just happens to be which one you decide to go with. Prices are very similar in all. You know, your base, your little beginning models are all about the same price, and then your highest end, top of the line, brand new cameras, they're all very similar in price. They're all similar in price no matter where you buy them. If you buy them from a brick and mortar camera store, or if you buy them on Amazon or one of the online camera stores, they're all basically about the same price, because I think the companies just, you know, set them and say you will sell them at this price. So what I'm going to talk about today is the camera that I started with, which is the Canon Rebel T7. Let's see, there, that. Alright, so even today, I think the price went up a little bit on these, but today I looked on the Canon website and you can buy the T7 and this little 18 to 55 kit lens for like $450. Not bad considering the prices of, you know, your full frame and your brand new cameras. This is a great little camera. It's a 24 megapixel APS-C, which crop sensor camera. What that basically is means the sensor is a little bit smaller than a full frame or a medium format sensor. It's still a good camera. It's still the sensor's plenty big enough. You know, 24 megapixels is all you need. I've printed pictures that I've taken with this camera up to 36 by 24, like 3 feet wide pictures, and you know, 3 by 2 feet, and they've been good quality, great quality. I mean, you can't even tell there was no pixelation or anything. So 24 is all you need. When the camera companies come out with these 50 and 80 and 100 megapixel cameras, it's all marketing, because it really, yes, it gets you better resolution. Yes, you can crop in on your pictures a little bit to ineffectively zoom in, but you know, with 24 megapixels you can still crop in a good bit, you know. But if you have to crop in more than, you know, half of your picture size, then your composition's wrong. You need to get a longer lens or rethink your composition and not just crop everything in. I would also suggest to get Sony, Nikon. They all have their, this is what we call the Nifty 50. It's just a little 50 millimeter prime lens with a 1.8 maximum aperture. It's like $125. Nikon and Sony, I'm sure. I know Nikon has a equivalent 50 millimeter lens that's around the same price. I'm pretty sure Sony does as well. So it's a nice inexpensive lens to get, and that way you can practice with a wide open aperture and, you know, start practice with your shallow depth of field, and you can kind of hone that in before you get started on, you know, buying a whole bunch of lenses that you don't really need to or know that you even want yet, because it just depends on what you like to shoot, on what lenses you want. I'm primarily a portrait guy, so I like a 50, but I really like the 85. That's kind of my thing, is an 85. And then I shoot with this 24-105 that's on right now, and that's kind of my general all-purpose lens. I use it in the studio because it's an L series lens, which is Canon's top of the line. Their best lenses are the L series ones. So I use it for my studio. I use it when I'm walking around, you know, just doing street photography, or just, you know, practicing or playing. I use that, and then I use it, you know, when I'm doing like full body portraits, or sometimes outside, because it has that wide, goes to the wide to 24 or 35. I'm eventually going to buy a better 35mm prime lens to use for portraits as well. And that's really the only lenses I use now, is this 24 and 105, 24 to 105 and the 85. I'm sure when I get the 35, I'll probably use it when I'm doing portraits in place of this 24 to 105. But for right now, I do it with that. So I make it work. All right, things that are good about this camera. It's small, it still fits in your hand nice. It's relatively lightweight. The battery lasts forever in this thing. You can crank off pictures all day long and you know, not have any worries about your battery life. It has your manual aperture priority, shutter priority, so you can control all that. Like I said, 24 megapixels is plenty. The sensor is good. The sensor is the same sensor that they have in the, I believe it's the 80D, which is kind of their, it's a couple years old now, but it was one of their higher end crop sensor cameras that Canon put out. Same sensor. Now they have different processors. All the cameras have different types of processors that handle the information that's sent through to the sensor. So the processor in this one's a little bit slow. That's one of the drawbacks. It only shoots 3 frames a second, so if you're into the, you know, just, you know, this is not the camera that's going to do that for you. But you know, a lot of us call that spray and pray, and it's not really a good picture taking tactic, I would say. With the processor not being an older processor, is low light photography. You can do low light photography. You can get the job done. I'll throw up pictures of low light, but you just have to be more aware of your settings and your surroundings. And I'm not comfortable pushing the ISO past 800 on this thing. That being said, at 800 ISO, you should still be able to take pictures of most anything. I mean, we don't want to shoot in pitch black or in the dark anyway. So, you know, I learned to shoot in the dark or at low light on this thing. So now with that 6D Mark II right there, it's even easier for me to do that. So that was kind of an advantage and a disadvantage. You know, your advantage was your low light capabilities aren't as great, but then you can learn how to get around all that. The second thing that I didn't really like about this is the screen on the back is just there. It doesn't flip out. A lot of your cameras now have the little flippy screen, and you can turn it that way. You know, if you're videoing yourself or taking pictures of it, you can see, you know, what you're doing. Like right now, I can look at myself on the flippy screen to know I'm in focus and see what I'm doing, and know that I'm right in the middle of the frame. And then the other thing that really made me want to upgrade is, if you can see right here, that little black dot is, there should be, on all other Canon cameras, there's a metal contact piece there. That's a piece they didn't put in for this, because that won't let any different brand of speed light or flashes, or in my case the remote for my strobes, wouldn't communicate. You have to buy a Canon brand speed light or whatever to put in there. All the other Canon cameras have that little piece there. So that was the biggest thing for me, was I needed my remote to trigger the off-camera flashes that I use. So, you know, if it wasn't for that, I probably still would be using this camera, but I did want a full frame. So I don't know if I left any pros or cons out of this. It's a good camera. If you're looking for a camera to start with that's not going to break your bank, you know, get one of these. I highly recommend it, or the Nikon or Sony equivalent, whatever. You're not going to go wrong with them because they still make good images, and once you learn, you know, your basics and you want to upgrade, then do it as your budget says so. Now granted, if you've got $15,000 to just spend on junk, go ahead and buy the nicest stuff. It's not going to make you any better than learning on this. So I'm going to put up, you know, my pictures, my favorite pictures that I've taken with this, so that you can see, you know, for yourself, hey, yeah, it takes good pictures. So that being said, there's those pictures. Whole nother reason gear doesn't matter. That guy right there, okay, he is a Canon PowerShot EL-PH190. It's a $150 point and shoot camera. Most of my video that I've shot for this channel, that's, you know, me and Haley in the studio, or some of me, you know, vlogging, walking, holding it, shot on this thing. Is it the greatest video quality? No. Is it the greatest audio quality? No. But, you know, as I'm a small YouTube channel, and it's really not worth justifying paying thousands of dollars when this will do a good enough job for now. If I ever get, you know, big enough where YouTube's sending me, you know, checks, then maybe I'll buy better cameras, and hopefully by then I'll be better at making videos. So, but you know, it does the job. It's what I have, and it does a good enough job. I'll probably start using my 6D Mark II more for video, just for the simple fact of, like, my little dance night excursions where I go out in the woods or something. It's kind of a pain in the ass to carry this camera on a tripod and then hold the other one and then set one down when I'm trying to talk to one, and just probably would be a lot easier just to use the one camera when I'm out and about, unless I'm filming, you know, me shooting somebody, which I'll probably just plop this on a tripod and go. But then again, you know, does the job. So okay, so now why did I pick the 6D Mark II to buy in 2021 rather than, you know, one of the new mirrorless models? It came down to a lot of things, and I debated back and forth. First and foremost is price. I don't have $5,000 or $6,000 to spend on a R5, which is Canon's newest, one of the newest mirrorless. Then they have the R6, which is still like $2,500 or $3,000. So budget was a concern. I wanted a full frame camera, which the 6D Mark II is. It has the little flippy screen right there, which was good for me. The newer cameras, yes, they have that eye autofocus and the eye tracking and all that, which is great, but again, I shoot portraits. I don't shoot wildlife. I don't shoot sports, you know, regularly. Most of my work is portraits, or, you know, I go out and take landscape pictures. So I don't need the fastest focus. You know, if you're taking pictures, portraits, your model's not moving, so you have those little focus points that you can, you know, hit on your person's eyes. So I don't need the eye autofocus. Would it be nice? Yes. Do I need it right now? No. I'd rather spend more money on more flashes, more modifiers like soft boxes or umbrellas to, you know, get better, make better lighting, better lenses. All that stuff comes into play before you need a different camera body. So the 6D Mark II checked off all the boxes that I wanted. You know, the flippy screen, the full frame, and it was cheaper. It was a lot cheaper than the mirrorless. Now its mirrorless equivalent is the EOS RP, and to an extent the R. The R's, you know, a little bit more. It's like 30 some megapixels, and this one is 26. Which again, like I said, 26 megapixels is more than you need for, unless I'm printing a huge billboard. So perfectly good enough resolution to print, you know, up to, you know, like I said, with the little Rebel, I printed 3 foot by 2 foot pictures, and they came out fine. Another thing, when I was comparing cameras to try to upgrade, the comparable cameras were with the 6D Mark II were the EOS R and EOS RP. Both comparable in price. The EOS RP was a couple $100 cheaper. The biggest thing that got me for that one, the size of the RP was tiny. It was smaller than this little Rebel, and it just wasn't. I picked up one and held it, and it just wasn't that all comfortable. Plus, the biggest thing was the battery life. The battery life on this old DSLR here is rated for like 1,200 pictures. I've never ran out of battery shooting all day on this camera. The EOS RP and the R, the EOS RP, the battery life was like for 300 pictures, and I'd take 300 pictures, you know, in a 2-hour session, just different poses and all that stuff. So I didn't want to be changing batteries all the time. So that was probably the biggest factor in why I bought this camera over the newest mirrorless. Now, am I saying I'm never going to buy a mirrorless camera? No, I'm probably at some point going to upgrade from this to maybe an R6, or, you know, 2 years from now, who knows what cameras are going to be out there. So I'm not saying I'm never going to do it, but right now, you know, this camera, this 6D Mark II, is the perfect camera for me. You know, it does what I need, and that's what you need to consider. Does it do what you need? That being said, that's what I liked about the 6D Mark II. That's why I went with it opposed to the new mirrorless cameras. And so I'll throw up some pictures that are my favorite that I've taken with the 6D Mark II right now. Alright, so that's it for my talking head video. Those are my thoughts on the T7 and the 6D Mark II. I don't really want to become a gear review channel, but I will talk about, you know, the gear that I use from time to time. and I'll incorporate it with, you know, how you use it and what it's good for. So you saw the pictures, you saw that this camera, you know, and the 6D Mark II take really good pictures, and it's more of what's up in here and how you use your skills than the camera that you're holding in your hand. So go out, practice, take lots of pictures, you'll improve. That being said, you know, click on these videos here for some more content, and hit that like and hit that subscribe. Get this channel growing. So see you guys in the next one.